Hey, how's it going, guys? We are back with some more Nilly's Realm as a sorcerer. Don't worry, our rogue didn't die. He is just kind of on a hiatus right now because I've been feeding him all of my potions, and I did not want to lose all that progress. So I was like, what character do I like to farm with the most on Nilly's Realm? And to be honest, that's the sorcerer. That's the sorcerer. And I decided to use I decided to use the Cult Sorcerer skin for today's video because we're going to be talking about something a little bit controversial, something I've been meaning to talk about for a while, and that is, well, it's something that I don't talk about on my channel ever. It's kind of a rule that I've had that I don't talk about religion or politics, but lately there's been a lot of stuff going on in the American political system, and I've decided to do a video on it. Now, before we get into it, very, very important, I'm going to try and be, you know, as fair to both sides as possible. I'm not going to necessarily tell you which way I'm voting, which way I normally vote, or any of that kind of stuff. I'm going to try and be, you know, as unbiased as possible and just kind of talk about the state of the political spectrum in the United States right now. So, and, you know, as always, kind of a little disclaimer for this is that, you know, the reason why I don't really like talking about this kind of stuff, partially because it's a personal thing, right? You know, it's a personal matter. I'm not a, do I need to keep any of this stuff? I grabbed it all. You can tell I've been doing a lot of Bellas as I was leveling up this character. You know, I don't like talking about religion and politics because it's one of those things that people will actually like leave your YouTube channel over. They get so heated up about it. It's one of those things that, you know, it's almost not worth talking about unless you're a political channel, because the only thing that you can gain from it is lost subs. You know what I mean? So it's like, why bother? So let's dump all this. Should I even keep this? I don't even know. I guess I can just no, I can't double click. I have to drag. That's a drag. But yeah, so that's why I don't normally talk about it. But like I said, I'm going to try and be as fair as possible. We're going to talk mostly about the way that the political thing works in America. Let's teleport over here to Wolfie. That was nice and safe. All right. And a little bit about, because I know a lot of you guys, you know, aren't from the United States. Most of the people, well, I'd say about half the people I talk to when I'm talking to people on my Nilly/Realm videos are actually from like the UK and from, you know, Europe somewhere. Lots of people from outside the United States, which is really awesome, actually. The only bad part is usually the time that when I'm recording, those people are usually in bed because it's like 2 or 3 in the morning, so we never get to play together, which is unfortunate. But enough of me basically stalling for time, because I kind of also at the same time don't necessarily want to talk about this, but it's important, and it's something that I feel like needs to be talked about. And sometimes the things that need to be talked about are the ones that are most important, are the hardest ones to actually talk about, right? So it's like one of those things, like if you need to tell somebody something, but you're dreading to tell them because it's you know, important, but it's hard to tell them, that just makes it even more, you know, oh, I want that. More important to actually tell that person that thing. So without further ado, let's talk American politics a little bit. And let's try and do it in a civilized, which is hard to do, and unbiased way. So the American political, the American political system is, ooh, I'll take that, whatever that. Somebody dropped that, I don't know if they did or not. If so, thank you. I wasn't watching. I was typing out my message because I can't type without looking at the keyboard because I'm a scrub. The American political system. We are a democratic republic, which means that we do vote and hold elections, but we don't necessarily vote for our presidents directly. And the way that works is that we do our votes, and those votes get sent to the Electoral College, and the Electoral College will tally up our votes and will then vote for whatever candidate is basically the most popular for that district or state or whichever way they've drawn their lines, right? So there are 50 states and there's one territory, of course, the District of Columbia, or Washington, D.C., if you've heard it called that as well. Not a state, but still an area that gets Electoral College votes, which is important to know. Now, there's a total of, I believe it's 538 Electoral College votes in the United States, and they are divided between the different states and the District of Columbia based on the number of senators and representatives of those states. And of course, you may know or may not know that each state has 2 senators. And so there's 100 senators in total, 50 states, right? And ooh, that's not good. Can we get rid of that, please? Because that's going to be really annoying. No, we can't. All right, and we are back. Let's teleport over here to the Godlands. Perfect. So you have the same amount of electoral votes equal to the amount of senators and the amount of House of Representative members, Congress members in your state. The House of Representative members are based off of your population, and so the more population you have in your state, the more representatives, and therefore the more Electoral College votes you get. So there are 435 representatives, and there are 100 senators, so that makes 535, right? And then because of, I think it's Amendment 23, if I remember correctly, I think it's 23. Washington, D.C. gets the same number of Electoral College votes as the least popular or populous state, which would be 3, because you get 2 senators no matter how big your state is, and at least 1 representative in the House. So that's a minimum of 3. And so if you get 100 plus 435 plus 3, you get your 538. That means in order to win the election, you need 270 votes. 270 of the Electoral College votes in order to become president of the United States. And I believe if no candidate gets the majority, then it's the House of Representatives that actually dictates or votes whoever is the president. So now the Electoral College, how does that work? So I believe anybody can become part of the Electoral College. There is one requirement that you can't be currently holding a public office, both appointed or elected. So your, representatives in your state. Was that a good? Hold on. All of your public officers in your state actually can't be part of the Electoral College, which makes sense because there's probably a conflict of interest there. Sorry, it's like really, really hard for me to type and play at the same time. My apologies. Also, it makes my commentary kind of cut out for a second, which I don't like. But moving on. So yeah, I believe pretty much anybody, if you wanted to, you could apply and get voted in to be part of Electoral College for this year's, probably not this year's, I'm sure that's probably already done. But, you know, this election cycles, oh, that hurt a lot, thing. So, yeah, so that's kind of how it works. Now, all but 2 states, which I believe are Maine and Nebraska, all but 2 states have a winner-take-all electoral college, which means that whichever, I guess, however many, when they add up that states, okay, let's say California. California has 55 electoral college votes. So if the majority of the electoral college votes for Democrats, because they probably will, because it's California, that's what they do. If the majority of them vote for Democrats, then the Democrats get all 55. So let's say that there was 25 Republican and 30 Democrat. That means all 55 would go to the Democrats. They don't get divided up the way that the Electoral College actually votes, which is important because there's a few states that don't do that. Obviously, let's actually wear this one. A little bit extra damage never hurt someone. I probably, sorry. Seriously though, I probably should like hotkey that response. Is Dex better? I feel like Dex, oh no, it's, we'll take it, we'll drop it or something, I don't even know. I should like hotkey that response so I can just hit it, and because I've had a lot of people wanting to donate, which, like I said, I appreciate. I just don't feel right doing it. You know, it just doesn't feel right to me, and it ends up being almost more of a headache than it's worth. But I do appreciate. I appreciate the sentiment, absolutely. So thank you, Demon Die. I do appreciate it. Okay, so Electoral College. We know how many votes we need. There are definitely states that pretty much are always Democratic or Republican, right? Yeah, they added 3 new dungeons, which is amazing. We're gonna see if we can find a few more of like the Hive or something in our next video, hopefully, knock on wood. Now we vote, right? We vote to whoever we want for president. And let's say that my district, let's say that, I don't know, you know, person X wins, right? Well, the Electoral College for my area could actually, if they wanted to, actually vote for candidate Y, even though the candidate X won the popular vote. So that is actually a possibility, and that happens. That's, I believe, what happened during, was it like, I think it was, who was it? This was fairly recent. I was still like itty bitty when this happened, but there was all those recounts. Remember that? Was that when Al Gore? I think that was either Al Gore or Clinton. I don't remember which one. But either way, I'm sorry, man. I want to talk to you. I just don't want to die. I apologize. So yeah, so they can actually not vote for the popular vote. That is, I believe, illegal in like 24 states, though. So 26 states allow that, which is kind of crazy. But you know, some of them have made that illegal. It definitely makes things interesting, of course. But that's kind of where the, okay. That's kind of, you know, American politics in a nutshell there for President of the United States type stuff. So small little rundown of that. Now let's actually get into this election. So, and this is the part that I've been dreading, because quite honestly, whenever I see anything from either candidate, the song Bring On the Clowns like plays in my head. Actually, I want to keep that one. Let's drop that one. You know, it's like this has been a total farce, you know? And you know, oops. You know, it's like now I've been. Am I right? You like doing everything yourself too? Yep. Sorry, man. It's just really hard to talk and type and play at the same time. I do apologize. I hope you can forgive me when you see this tomorrow. But I record the night before. I had people ask me that recently as well. So yeah. So obviously, there's the big two, right? There's former Secretary of State Clinton, and then there's Donald Trump, who is a businessman, I guess would be his moniker there. Those are the big two. Those are obviously the two that everybody has been focusing on very much in this election. Now, they're not the only two candidates, but the United States is pretty much a bipartisan country. So, you know, there's the Democratic Party, there's the Republican Party, and everyone else is kind of on the sidelines like, well, you know, we're participating, yay, and that's kind of what they get. Which I'm actually really hoping changes in this election because I think a lot of people don't like either candidate. And so I would love to see some traction with the third, you know, parties. Because at least maybe that would be somewhat of a wake-up call. You know, to the parties like, oh, we can't continue to keep screwing over everybody because people are getting sick of this, you know? And I guess that's a great segue into what I think about Donald Trump. Now, like I said, I'm gonna try and be completely unbiased as much as I can. And before we get into Hillary versus Trump and the whole shit show that is right now, I do have to say that I don't really like either candidate. I like them each about the same, which is not at all. So, I mean, I guess 0 is about the same as 0, and that's about how much I like either candidate. So it shouldn't be too hard to be, you know, at least somewhat unbiased in this. There we go. So, yeah, let's start with Donald Trump. Now, I said earlier that a lot of people are kind of getting really tired of all this corruption and this greed and everything in politics. And I think a lot of people are getting really, really tired of politicians in general. In fact, I read somewhere, I don't know if this is true, but it wouldn't really surprise me. I read somewhere that the United States is the only democratic nation that only has, a sphinx. Let's keep an eye on that and see when people get close to it. We are the only democratic nation that only has lawyers as our political people, right? Every other country has, you know, doctors and they have engineers and they have, you know, other professionals in their politics as well. And you know what? That makes sense. That makes sense because, you know, if you're trying to pass a law about healthcare or something, you think that, you know, knowing the state of healthcare and being a doctor and knowing all the medical stuff would be useful for all that kind of stuff. You know, it makes sense. Now, of course, there's advisors and stuff that advise people, but you know, most of them are like corporate shills that are in it for their companies and not necessarily for the American people, which I think is also what people are getting really, really sick of. So, is this still up? Wasn't expecting you on here this late. Yeah, man, I'm on a little bit late tonight. I was leveling up this character as well. It is, yeah, it's 10. It's 10 here. So, ghost ship. Let's go ahead and teleport a little bit closer. I love, oh, another Sphinx. Is that right where we were at? One more second. All right, let's do this. I love the range and the damage potential of this character, you know, which is why I love farming with it in Nilly's realm, because you only really have to do 1 damage in order to get potential loot, right? So as long as we can do 1 damage and then fall off, then we can get loot. And the secondary will go between people. And, you know, it's a great way to get a lot of loot potential all at once. So, all right, so a lot of people in this country are very, very sick and tired of politicians, right? They're always lying, they're only in it for themselves or their corporate buddies. And I think that's why a lot of people are attracted to Donald Trump, because he's not a politician, you know, he's a businessman. And so he's different, you know, hopefully he's, you know, not the same as all the other corrupt politicians out there, you know, like Hillary Clinton. So now that being said, there's a Penteract over here. We should see if we can get to that. That being said, I'm not saying that he's a good candidate for being president either, because, you know, there's a certain amount of, you know, finesse and a certain amount of care. Ooh, that's better than what we've got. Let's take that. There's a certain amount of like finesse and care that you need in order to be president that I don't feel like he necessarily exudes. You know, he's very rough around the edges, which I actually appreciate to some degree as well, because the difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump with the way that they talk is Hillary Clinton's very sterile, right? Everything she says is pandering, and everything that she says is something that's been focus tested to, you know, give her the biggest chance of winning. It's not, I don't feel like it's like her really, it's just what she's saying to try and get elected, which, you know, it's like Donald Trump sometimes says it's just words, you know? It's just words. She doesn't actually believe in this. It's just what she's saying. And I unfortunately have to agree with that to some degree. So I feel like at this point, I've kind of built up Donald Trump. Obviously, there's also all the stuff about Hillary's emails and her lying all the time and all this bad stuff, you know, her being in the pocketbooks of all these major corporations everyone hates, getting money from foreign, you know, governments and foreign states that have known ties to terrorism, and just all of this really bad stuff for Hillary Clinton. Trump's not, he's not the clean, shiny, you know, squeaky clean person either. Obviously, he does some lying as well. A lot of people, I think, like that he speaks his mind, but at the same time, sometimes he needs to close his mouth and not say the things that he says, you know? Because there are certain, you know, the president of the United States is weird. Because a lot of people think that they have a lot of power, and they do. They're the head of a single branch of our government, out of 3 of them, right? But at the same time, there's checks and balances in play. So there's the Senate, there's the House of Representatives, and the courts. So there's checks and balances in play. So it's not that they have absolute power. It's not a dictatorship or anything like that. You know, if they're doing something stupid, then other people can stop them, you know, to some degree. The Supreme Court or the House of Representatives or any of that. And that goes the other way too. If the president doesn't like something that, you know, the Supreme Court or the Senate or the House are doing, he can veto stuff and that kind of stuff as well. So, you know, to some degree, this election is important, but to some degree, all of those Senate and House chairs that are coming up for re-election very soon, those are very important as well. But what the President of the United States is they are a kind of figurehead for our country. They're the face that other countries, you know, associate with our government, right? They might as well be like a king or a queen, because that's, everyone thinks, I'm assuming, you know, everyone outside the United States sees Obama as the head of our government, you know? So, and Donald Trump is not this sort of candidate that I think a lot of people want to be associated with our country, right? He's definitely rough around the edges, and he doesn't seem like a lot of times he knows what he's doing. He doesn't always answer the questions. He answers truthfully, but he misses the point of questions. And, you know, like watching the debate, he's very quippy, right? Hillary will say something it doesn't agree with, and he'll have a short little quip, and then everyone will cheer or jeer or something, you know. He's definitely more kind of like a rock star than a politician, you know? And I don't know if that's the kind of person that should be the president. They shouldn't be the president just because everyone likes them. They should be the president because the decisions that they make, you know, are sound, and they're acting in the best interest of their country. And those are two things that I don't think we can necessarily associate with Donald Trump, you know? So he's been on the record several times of being very misogynistic, very racist, very anti-Muslim or anti-Islam, you know, just, and I could see, you know, if, you know, there's the whole thing with the you know, Mexican wall, they're gonna pay for it, and they're like, no, we're not, he's too racist, we're not even allowing our country anymore. And, you know, there's just a lot of this stuff that, like, if he gets elected, I could see a lot of countries be like, well, this is America now, they're all misogynistic, you know, homophobic. I don't know if he's homophobic, actually, I'm not sure about that one. You know, racist Islamophobes, and I could see our ties, you know, whatever kind of, wow, we are getting a lot of potions today. You know, even somewhat shred of good relationships we have with some of these countries deteriorating very quickly because Donald Trump was elected, you know, which is that the risk you want to take? Now, that being said, you know, I don't want Hillary in office either. And you know what? It's one of those funny things that it seems like every election cycle, and by the way, I feel really bad for the people who are like 18 to 22. This is their first election. Like, this is the crap that they have to deal with. You know, like, there is no right answer here. You know, and you always get that to some degree with your elections. Like, oh man, this is, you know, a lot of people, I think, vote kind of the lesser of two evils, which absolutely is you know, my feeling on this election to some degree. Ooh, if we could just, oh, we are the closest one. That's why we can't teleport to ourselves, guys. I guess you can. I don't know, can you? I'm not sure. But, and that's kind of a piss poor way to elect somebody, right? We elected you because you're the least unlikable candidate, versus we elected you because we like your ideals, we like the way that you run things, you know? Donald Trump hasn't paid taxes or federal income taxes in a long time. Now, a lot of people say that that's horrible. He's, you know, should be paying more money. A lot of people are saying, you know, these are loopholes built into the system, so he's smart for taking them. I kind of agree with both, you know. I mean, obviously the save our nation now with our debt and stuff, it'd be nice to take taxes more taxes in from people who have the money for it than the people who don't have the money for it. At the same time, though, they get taxed a lot. They get taxed a lot. They get taxed, 30% upon 40% upon, like the amount that they get taxed is unreal, and then they still have a lot of money left over. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's one of those things. There's really no right answer for it. I can understand both sides completely. I still don't believe that either side is really like quote unquote fit to be the face of our country, Personally, I think Hillary Clinton should be in prison for a lot of the stuff that she's done. I don't think that because I have money is a good defense, but apparently that's how our judicial system sometimes apparently works, So, yeah, so there's that as well. Now, I do have to say something to all the people who are like, oh, if you don't vote Hillary, it's because you're misogynistic. That, I think, is a horrible, horrible way to look at this election. Because I think that the people who don't want to vote for Hillary, I'm sure there's some people who don't want a woman in office, And that's the thing. But I think the majority of people who don't want to vote for Hillary is because she's two-faced and she lies and they can't trust her, And all the stuff that happened when her husband was in office, he's very, very misogynistic and anti, woman as well. And she defended her husband with that. So how can she be the face of women in politics when she's misogynistic and isn't any better than Donald Trump to some degree, I don't know. So, but you should be voting on whoever you think fits the job better. You shouldn't take gender into it because that has absolutely nothing to do with politics. Women can be just as good at politics as men and just as bad at politics as men, right? I was actually surprised to see how many third-party candidates on the ballot were female. It almost seems like half of the candidates altogether are female. I'm gonna go down the list here once it's a little bit safer and I can look at my list. I did grab it. Don't want to die here. There we go. I got nothing for that, which is a shame. All right, we're wrapping this up, so I'm gonna pop off here. I'm gonna go down my list. So you have Hillary Clinton, obviously. You have Donald Trump, Republican Party, Libertarian Party, Gary Johnson, which I believe I'm kind of excited to see if there's an upset, because I think a lot of people might actually vote for Gary Johnson because they don't like either of the two, and hopefully they're sending a message to the parties that this isn't okay, right? You have Jill Stein, which is the Green Party, Constitution Party, Darrell Castle, I guess, Independent No Party, Evan McMullen, and then Party of Socialism and Liberation, Gloria Riva maybe, not sure. And then you have Allison Kennedy, Socialist Workers Party. The Socialist Party, you have Emilio Mimi Soltis. I butchered that horribly. So it almost seems like half of the candidates in this election are female. Now, not a lot of attention is being given to a lot of the other candidates, obviously. I'd say, if anything, you get a lot of attention to Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, a little bit to Gary Johnson, and a little bit to Jill Stein as well. But obviously, everything that I've said here is somewhat opinionated, somewhat fact, trying to be as unbiased as I can. Honestly, if I had to tell you guys who I'm going to vote for, I'm going to say I really don't know, because I don't like anyone. I don't. I've been thinking about possibly voting third party just as a stick it to the man type thing. But Colorado is a swing state right now. And so it is one of those states where every vote matters type thing. So it's kind of like, well, if I vote third party and I don't know, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump win, which they probably will, then is it partially my fault? If it's close, then is it partially my fault? I don't know. It's not a fun situation right now. It's not. So I hope that you enjoyed my rambling. I hope I came off as unbiased as possible because honestly, I hate both candidates and I think that we should elect somebody else. But you know, this is something that you can't cover in half an hour. But at the very end, I do want to say it's very, very important that you vote. Right now is the time where you should be registering to vote if you can, and if you haven't already. And, you know, very, very important. Even, you know, if you don't think that your vote's going to matter, go out and vote anyways. You know, it's important, and it's your civic duty. So, or civil duty, civic duty, Honda. It's your Honda Civic duty to go out and vote. That is all I have for you guys today. I appreciate you sticking by. If you have not unfollowed or unsubscribed from me because I talked about politics, I appreciate that. That's all I got for you guys today. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next episode.